Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's
What?
episode of the Campfire. And this week's topic is very special to me. It is cosplay, and I'm joined with our special guest host for this week, Ashni.
Hi, what's up, guys? How's it going? I'm super excited. This is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. You're all three of you are very, I think, well informed as far as cosplay in general, the community, and everything that you've done. So I'm really excited to hear all of your input for this episode.
All right, so our guests this week are none other than Wicked, Heidi, and Methyl Ethyl Cosplay. And I'll let you guys introduce yourself by telling us a little bit about how you got into cosplay and how you got into gaming. So let's start with Wicked since you're top left.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with cosplay first. I started cosplay in like 2012, and I started with a really bad Zuko cosplay from Avatar: The Last Airbender, like Last Airbender.
I love that series.
Awful. Yeah. So do I. So do I. It was terrible. It was terrible. to be very clear, because a friend of mine was a really talented cosplayer, and she was like, "Oh my god, you should totally come with me. You're gonna have so much fun." So I did, and I did have a lot of fun, and that was kind of what sparked my interest in cosplay. And then I sort of didn't really, I guess, cosplay seriously, as in like make like a really like a high quality cosplay until a couple of years ago. And then, as far as gaming goes, I played a lot of games as a kid, like on PlayStation and stuff like that, but I didn't really get into online gaming until a couple of years ago with Dota, because up until that point I had like never had a computer of my own. And right around the time that I got a computer built out of spare parts, my boyfriend at the time was like playing Dota 2 in our living room because our computers were hooked up, so like we had like a keyboard on our lap on the couch with like a mouse beside us. And I was watching him get wrecked, like really wrecked by like a Ricky, and the Ricky was like 30 or 40-0.
Typical.
And like the Ricky's like bad mouthing their whole team. And at one point the Ricky says, "Commend me and I'll tell you how to stop me." And I remember watching that and was like, yeah, I want to do that. And so that was how I started playing Dota and sort of my beginnings in gaming online.
Nice. All right, how about you, Heidi?
Well, I played a little bit of games as a kid. My dad gave me an N64 whenever those came out, and I kind of looked at it like, why would you buy me this? I don't play games. And then I started playing games and got really into Mario stuff, which I think is a lot of people's gateway. But I totally stopped playing for many years, and then eventually, when I got my first job, I actually got hired at a store that sold secondhand video games and movies and music and all of that. And they hired me for the gaming department because they knew I didn't play games, and they were concerned that employees would steal product. So joke's on them, because I became completely obsessed with games immediately after being hired. And so that's how I actually got into it, was having to educate myself so that I'd be good at the job, and then ending up loving it. And then with cosplay, I got into cosplay. Well, I've always been an artist, and I've always been interested in making visual or wearable art, because it's really fun when you can make something you're really proud of and then go and get the gratification of having people see you in it and get to interact with them. And so I was really drawn to that aspect of cosplay, and that's how I got started.
Nice.
What kind of art have you done?
Painting and drawing when I was younger, and then that kind of developed into textile art. So mostly cosplay at this point. Like my visual art background is stuff that when I was younger, it's not stuff that I'm proud of and want to show off all the time. But yeah.
That's pretty much how all beginning art is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Morgan? Let's hear those origins, baby.
Well, I guess my first cosplay I ever did was like in 2012. A group of friends were like, "We're gonna go to Comic-Con." It was our first time we ever went. So me and one of my girlfriends back then, we made like this one weekend cosplay. I was Black Canary and she was like Spider Girl or something, and it was terrible. but we didn't know like how good everybody was. So I did mine like off the Smallville version. So I just like modified some leggings and a shirt, and it was fun though. So we went and we saw how good it was, and then I didn't really do much. Like I think 2014, I went again as like a femme Doctor Who, the 11th Doctor, and so I was like, I saw everything, and I was like, I'm going to do this for real. So I don't know. I just decided to. At that point, I just decided, okay, next con, I planned it out, and I did a lot of research, and I did like a femme Cyberman, like a big costume, and then from there I won the sci-fi category in the cosplay division, and I was just like hooked from then on. So I just been, you know, and gaming, I don't really game very much. My husband's the gamer, so I've done like Diablo with him some, but other than that, I'm not really into it.
Nice. So I actually,
Awesome.
fun little quick story time. I actually did meet both Heidi and Methyl Ethyl at conventions, so got to see their
Oh,
work
yeah.
in person.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Mhm.
Which conventions?
I think they might have both been Dallas Comic Con.
Mine was, yeah.
I think both of you guys was at Dallas Comic
Oh, what year was that?
last year, actually.
Really?
Not that long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
wondering how
looking
you
at
guys kind of
my
knew each other.
yeah, I'm looking at my Magneto helmet on the shelf over there. It's just what I
Oh
was saying.
yeah.
Oh.
We took a photo together because I was Jean Grey and she was Magneto, and
Oh,
then we
that's
didn't
so
know each
good.
other. It was just kind of in passing, and then like the next year, she found me on Twitter or something.
Yeah, just the photo
by the
surfaced
photo.
when I was like looking something up, and I was like, oh, hey.
Oh,
It was the
awesome.
funniest thing, but yeah. Anyway.
That's so serendipitous that you guys would find each other. Like, you're cosplaying pretty much the same thing. That's so great.
And that's such a surreal experience when you're like Googling like cosplay and you're like, wait, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you ever like
Long lost tall shots.
record yourself and you're just like, oh,
oh, let's see where this is
no, what is
posted.
out there?
Oh,
Like,
no.
what's out? You're like, it's totally like innocent, right? And then you do it and you're like, oh no. There's so much more out there than I was expecting. So, all right, we did origins. Let's go ahead and get some background as far as where do you guys' cosplay names come from? I'm sure there's some really good stories behind this. Like, I'm always wondered, what is Wicked's cosplay? Are you just like super naughty? Like, what is it?
No, okay. So I hope you're ready for some cringe.
Oh yes,
This is like
I
some
am.
cringe.
I love cringe.
Like, okay, we're gonna like rewind a little bit. Here, I'll set the story for you. 13-year-old Wicked, okay? Positive. She wants to be an author of fantasy fiction. Has a character in one of her books named Wicked because she's a really fan of really big fan of like adjectives as names. And you know, like 10 years, like 5-6 years later rolls around, and I'm like, oh, what's like a cool name? What's a cool name to name myself? And of course, I think back to my glory days as a pimply faced author of fantasy fiction, and that's where the name came from.
Oh my god.
God.
This is the first time I've told anyone this, by the way.
That's amazing. I can't lie though. I've named like all of my like MMO characters after book characters that I've written. So you're not the only one. Just throwing that out there. But that is fantastic.
Dude, I wish mine was good. Mine is so boring. It's just like first, middle, and last name, the letters. Like, that's not cool at all.
That's pretty great.
Oh my gosh.
All right. What about? Well, I guess yours is also Heidi. But what does your name come from?
Yeah, the Atelier is a word that means workshop, and it's used by French couture houses to describe the place where all of the clothing is made. But in addition to that, it's also a video game series. Atelier Verona was one of my first cosplays, and well, it wasn't one of my first cosplays, it's one of my first big cosplays. And so I kind of took that name from the game that I was interested in cosplaying from, and then just added my name. So in that game, Verona is an alchemist, and so she has her own little alchemy workshop, and I just thought it was cute. So there it is.
All right. Last but definitely not least, what about you, Morgan?
Mine is like it's a play on methyl ethyl ketone. which is the chemical that's used in a lot of like varnishes. It's a solvent, and it's used for like plastic fusing for model kits and stuff. So it's basically just a head nod towards like the materials used for cosplay construction. And also my background is chemical engineering, so I just thought like it would add a little personal touch, methyl ethyl, to my name.
Cute.
Love it.
That's all. Yeah, I love that. That's so like, that's like super nerdy on like a different level. It's like the science, like
double nerd.
it's like Think Geek. Do you guys know that website?
Yeah.
Think Geek.
Yeah.
Like super awesome. They have a lot of like merchandise for like the science nerds out there as well as gaming. It's kind of like the combination that you remind me of. I find it really endearing.
All right, so talked about origins and names, so let's head on over to talk about our cosplay process. I'm skipping down a little, but what is your process? How do you pick cosplays? And once you've picked that cosplay, what is your process after that? And by that I mean, like, when I pick a cosplay, I actually spend like 2 days staring at it, just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do before I start it. So just things like that. Whoever wants to go first can go first.
I'll go first. So basically, I always have like 20 million ideas. Like every day, I'm like, oh man, that would be such a cool cosplay. Like I should do that. And more or less, whatever cosplay I end up going with is always just the one that is sort of on my mind when I have like the money to pull the trigger on like ordering supplies. So for Juggernaut, it was just like an idea I had that week, and then I was like, oh sick, I have money now, I guess I'll order supplies, and there we go. Or alternatively, it's something that I'm panicking last minute for, and I'm like, oh, like what do I think I can like make in like the smallest amount of time? So yeah, but yeah, like you said, staring at it a lot from like different angles and stuff, and trying to like sort of like picture what you're gonna make things out of, because there's nothing worse than like getting halfway through your cosplay and then you're like, oh, I didn't think about how I was gonna do this. Now my cosplay's ruined because I'm not gonna be able to do it. So I think, staring at it and like thinking about like what components are gonna go into it is really important.
That's one of the reasons why I usually go with the hardest part of the costume first, because if I can do whatever the hardest thing is, and then it just gets easier from there. So that's part of my process. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say I do the same thing.
You get like the most frustrating thing out of the way first.
Yeah, or the scariest.
Right.
Whatever I'm the least confident in.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
what I've called the cosplay panic zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The nights before the convention, or like right before the convention, or whatever event you're going to,
Where you do all the work while crying.
You're like blood from your
way.
finger.
You're like
Why
in
did
the
I
car
leave this
on the way to the
last minute?
convention, and you're like
gluing stuff on.
I'm
the
so
worst.
bad at like waiting till the last minute. Like I just decided to go to RTX next week, and I'm like, I need a new cosplay for that, right?
Oh no,
gosh,
girl.
you just
It's like the edge of my dress form is like back here because I'm working on that right now. But...
What are you doing on this show? Go work on your costume right now. You're
I do the
crazy.
same thing, dude. Like before my first TI, like TI4, I thought I was so prepared. I was like, I finished my cosplay with like a month to spare. Oh wow, I'm so good. I can totally like make another cosplay before the event.
Dude, do you know like?
I always
Keep going,
panic about
sorry.
something. No, I was just saying that like inevitably there's always something to panic about. Sometimes it's my own doing, but there's always something.
I think last year in like March, TI was in August, right? I announced that I was gonna do like 6 costumes.
I remember
in August. I was like, and now looking back, I'm like, you are stupid. What were you thinking? Are you serious?
Wasn't one of
There's
them
no
like
way.
PA's Arcana or something like that?
Yeah, because you had the bodysuit.
Yeah, and there were a bunch of like super involved ones too, because I was like, I'm gonna learn something new with every single costume. This one's gonna be a bodysuit and like painting this crazy lycra material. And this one I'm gonna do LEDs, and it was just like, it was stupid. It was stupid. I was trying to do like 6 years of work in like 3 months.
Oh god, that's actually something I really admire about you, Morgan, is because I always see your like work in progress pictures, and you start that not the week before, but it's amazing, which is admirable just knowing myself. But I love seeing your like work, like because you take so much time with it. So do you know way like more further ahead of time what you know what you want to do, or?
I have just like a lot of stuff that I want to do, and then after I finish the costume, I just pick one and settle on it. But if I get more than 2 done in a year, it's a good year. So I'm really slow, but it's fun.
That's cool though.
those
Do you kind of like
project
take your
skills.
time on details and
Mhm.
all of that?
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of nice to. I mean, you can crank them out really fast. Like apparently, me and Royal Ames and Wicked try to do, but I think I have a lot of respect for people that take their time and really try to like perfect the costume, because that to me is like so much harder than just churning it out and getting it done. Like that's so much more
Definitely.
important. Is
'Cause-
I'm like my goal is to do something that's that involved to where I'm able to take the time on it, because I don't know how you guys do it.
Well, and moreover, like
Awesome.
not accepting that something a part of your costume is just gonna suck, you know? 'Cause,
Yeah.
Like, I was,
Yeah.
like, making a costume, I'm like, wow, this looks terrible. It'll probably be fine.
They won't notice.
We all done.
No one's gonna look that close.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
that
that's
as
so
well.
great.
I had a strap on my sniper cosplay that was I just ran out of time and didn't have a sewing machine, and so I
You
taped
just tied
the
it.
ends together with like masking tape. No one noticed, and it survived to the end of PAX, but that was like my cosplay low, I think, of that. Anyways. All right, so what are some of the challenges that you faced as a cosplayer, whether that be challenges with the cosplays themselves, or even like, you know, I know unfortunately some of us run into challenges at conventions. So.
Challenges. Let's see. Well, I think there's always the challenge of like learning a new skill or like trying to jerry rig something because you don't have like a tool or the equipment you actually like ideally would have to work on something. Or the worst is always when you get like halfway through a project and you realize like you've like messed it up irreparably and you like need to start again. And I mean, like most of all, like cosplay is expensive. I feel like all of us here are the kind of cosplayers where like you see like these like people in like robot suits and stuff, and you're like, wow, I wish I had like $600 to fake a costume with. So I think it's hard, and I know a lot of cosplayers that like sacrifice like it's like kind of an addiction where it's like they like buy like supplies and stuff even though like maybe like they shouldn't, and it's really expensive. So I think that's kind of like a problem for like a lot of cosplayers is sort of like spending within their means for their costumes and stuff.
The first major costume that I had was Drow for. I made it in October before TI4, and I was not expecting it to cost as much as it did. Like I was kind of shocked.
Yeah.
I added everything up by the end, and I was like, "How did I spend $300 on this?" Because if you think about it, like I can get a Halloween costume for like $40. Like, what am I doing? Spending $300 on making this costume? But that just kind of opened my eyes up to the fact that there are people that do that to the extreme. Like some cosplays cost like thousands of dollars and it's totally normal for them. And to me, I was just like, oh my god, like where do these people get this money? Like how is this happening? This is such an expensive hobby. And we actually got a question from Butlet in the chat that was asking what he thinks, or what we think of the Manila cosplays, how intense and mechanical they were, and whether or not it raised the bar on what we're going to make ourselves. And from my experience, I saw those and I was just like, wow, okay, first off, that's a lot of money. 2, that's a lot of skill and a lot of time. And dang, I want to do that. I couldn't have all of those resources right now.
Try to find a link of the Manila cosplays. Oh god.
Yeah. I think like my biggest thing about that is like I always get sort of like miffed when people are like, oh, why didn't you like paint your body for this thing or whatever? And it's like, well, like people don't understand that like cosplay is uncomfortable. I don't know if any of you have ever had a cosplay where you're like, I could hang around my house in this for like
No.
6 hours.
No.
Like they're all everything has a pokey bit. Okay, yeah, but like everything has a pokey bit.
Yes.
Or you're wearing a wig, or like cosplays are not comfortable for the most part.
Mhm.
So like when you look at people in like these giant like suits of armor and stuff, like they can't sit down probably. Like
Yeah.
they're disassembling their costume if they want to like get through some doorways and stuff. So it's like you're sacrificing your enjoyment of whatever event that you're going to be at in order to like wear these giant monstrosities. And like not to take away from like the skill or like the time that goes into any of those costumes, but for me, like when I go to an event, I go like to enjoy it and not just to take pictures and like kind of like stand around, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, you do have to kind of make that decision for yourself. And maybe you did put hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours into making whatever costume it is, and you're like, okay, I know that I'm not going to get any good photos if I don't plan this out and spend time
Yeah.
in areas where people are going to see me. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is a kind of a necessary sacrifice sometimes.
I personally have this issue.
Planning.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just think like planning, like if you're gonna be at a con all weekend, like maybe wear your really tough one to wear one day, but then pick a comfortable outfit to wear for another day. So you can still see everything one day, go through torture a different day.
Yeah, that's pretty emo.
Choose your
Oh, she's a robot.
Yeah, we're having.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Yeah,
there.
that's my MO for cosplay weekends. I usually bring a Sunday costume that it's like as relaxed as I possibly can. And so there's a version of Bulma from Dragon Ball Z where she's just wearing like an orange tracksuit.
Oh yeah.
So I bought an orange
that's so
tracksuit
good.
for $20 on Amazon Prime, and that's my Sunday hangover Bulma costume.
That's awesome,
great.
dude.
Yeah.
I need to do that. I think, to TI last year, I brought like 3 or 4 costumes. And I think I got through like 2 of them. Just because at that point, we'd been there for like 3 or 4 days. We had already drank a little bit. Like everyone's hungover.
A little bit.
Everyone's cat knows.
A little bit.
She
A
was
lot.
Yeah, it was just it's really chaos. Like, and it's really hard too because this is the time that you're able to be around all of your friends that you pulled in from like all the corners of the country, sometimes the globe. You're trying to cosplay at the same time and you're trying to balance the two, and it's super complicated. So actually, I have a question for you guys based on that. Like, how do you go about spending your time at conventions? Are you business oriented around building yourself professionally within the cosplay world, or are you more focused on the interaction with your friends, your group? Like, how do you kind of make that decision? How do you decide like what you're going to do with your time?
I definitely agree with you when you say like it's very complicated to kind of like manage your time like that. Like for me, that's one of the hardest parts about like going to any event or convention is like trying to manage my time wisely while you still trying to like make those like networking connections and stuff, and not just for business, but like meeting like other cosplayers or like people you want to like collaborate with or whatever, and like hanging out with your friends, because I mean when you're at a convention, it's like you're seeing people that maybe you haven't seen since the same convention last year, or like people that you've never met in real life that you want to meet. So I think it's super hard to like manage that, especially at an event like TI. And I apologize to the non-Dota people. We just keep going off on tangents about this one event. But at an event like TI, it's so hard because your schedule is so full. And like you said, you're kind of getting mangled more often than not, and like trying to like wake up on like 3 hours of sleep and be like, oh god. Like TI5, I wore cosplay 3 days out of the 7. Because I was tired. I wanted to watch the event. Like I didn't want to be stopped like every 5 seconds for pictures, and that wasn't a good thing. Like I came there with cosplay. I had like 3 costumes, and I should have cosplayed more, but you know, I managed my time poorly and kind of suffered for it. But
okay, so just throw out for the non-Dota people. TI is the international. It's the biggest Dota tournament of the year, and the Dota scene is unfairly balanced towards TI. As in, like, when I say it's the biggest, it's like this is how big TI is, and like this is other events. Not
The
to
prize
decrease,
pool-
not to
the
decrease
prize-
the other events, but just like it is huge. So yeah, that's why
Yeah,
we
Like
keep throwing
the,
TI
the
out.
prize pool is
Makes sense.
$18 million. That was
Yeah.
last year, and this year it'll be more.
That's incredible.
Holy.
I would say that for myself, I am always pretty business oriented when it comes to how I'm spending my time at conventions. It's pretty rare now that I go to a convention where I don't have some official thing to do there, whether I'm a guest or whether I'm just running a panel that I applied for, or doing like some sort of scheduled photo shoot or something of that nature. Just because I've been doing this for a while and I'm not just there to have a good time, although that always plays into it. So yeah, I would say that I definitely take that into consideration when I'm figuring out what I'm going to do for the weekend and what I'm wearing for that weekend. But in the evenings is my opportunity to relax and have fun and hang out with people. So that's always a priority too.
Cool. What about you, Morgan?
I kind of just wing it. I go and I hang out with my friends. If I want to go to a panel, we'll go, to whatever. It just depends on what's going on. But sometimes I'll meet up for photo shoots. Sometimes I'll just walk around the vendor hall. Just wing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are
All
some of
right.
the most fun events though, like when I do get a chance to do it that way,
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy
think-
yourself.
I think PAX, the Sunday of PAX South, was the first time I had ever gone to a convention out of cosplay. I just picked one day and I did it, and I missed cosplaying for that day. It was a lot of fun because I was just like, nope, I'm wearing my Tidehunter sweater and I'm going to this convention and I'm not gonna care about it. So it is nice to take that break sometimes.
I think I saw a picture for that, and I was like, I need to get a Tide sweater or something. I just need to make like some Dota Kigurumis.
Yeah, you
just
should
go
do.
like super comfy
Gotta do
cosplay
it.
level.
All right,
Oh,
so
so good.
let's head on over to the next topic, which I'm gonna briefly touch on advice for newcomers, which is a topic that kind of comes up a lot, but it's something that a lot of people ask. So, what advice would you give newcomers to the?
I feel like all of us will unanimously say one thing, in that just do it, because cosplay is about having fun, and inevitably your first cosplay probably gonna look terrible, but you're gonna have fun wearing it because you're gonna be nerding out with all your other friends and their terrible cosplays. So in short, just do it. Like, you see a character, give it your best attempt, wear the shit out of it, and just like have fun, and anything else will like sort of come after that, you know?
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Alright.
Be
Yeah.
persistent, I guess, would be my biggest other piece of advice, is just to be persistent, because a lot of people will start something and they're really excited about it and they expect this, I don't know, some sort of gratification as far as people telling you how amazing you look and all that. And that happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen always. And so I guess just, yeah, you have to be self-motivated and not motivated by responses from other people, because it's just not enough to keep you going.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Do you have anything to add, Morgan?
Oh, I think your audio might be
I
delayed.
would say research.
There we go.
Like,
Yeah.
research. Because odds are, 9 times out of 10, it's something you're trying to do. There's probably some kind of tutorial or video or something out there where you can learn a lot about it and then expand on it from there. So that's what I always do, a ton of research when I'm starting something. And, I don't know, continue
That's-
throughout the project.
That's my biggest
Yeah.
piece of advice for people, is Google things, because I get a lot of questions
Yeah.
about how I made things, and I always just tell people I Googled it, and someone had made
Google,
something
yeah.
similar. I think the hardest part of Googling it is trying to figure out the correct words to use, though. I now know the proper names for way too many parts of armor, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
but,
Same problem.
You know, I was kind of thinking, maybe like when I was new, I wish that I would have known that I should identify cosplay for me as, is this something that I want to do like for fun, for a hobby, or is this something that I want to take really seriously and like be the business cosplay person at the conventions that I go to? Because it's easy to kind of tread that line and kind of do both, but I think differentiating the two is extremely important, because if you're doing cosplay to have fun and you're just doing it as a hobby, then you need to make sure like you're having fun with it. Like, don't get bogged down by all the people that are asking for your pictures, the people that are asking to do interviews. If that stuff isn't fun for you, don't do it. Don't feel obligated to do it just because you're in a costume. Whereas if you're focused on the business side and your friends are like, hey, let's go out tonight, and you know what happens when you go out during conventions, everyone typically likes to party, so let's go out, and then you wake up at like 3 p.m. the next day and you're like, crap, I can't cosplay at all today. So I guess like differentiating the two for people that are new is a really good idea, and just deciding like investing all this time into it, like what do I want to get, what do I want to receive from it. Absolutely. You don't want to like invest your time and it just feel like a waste, you know, like I don't know. I think
be honest with yourself about what you want, and then pursue that only. Because if you try to do both, you're just not gonna really get either.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. We've talked a lot about the cosplay process and the challenges of cosplay. So why don't we talk about some positive benefits? So what do you think cosplay has taught you? And I'm going to go ahead and start because that's kind of a general question. But to me, I was actually, when I first started cosplay, I was having a lot of body image issues. And cosplay actually helped me a lot with that because it just made me feel more confident in myself and, you know, take pride in my work. And so it can be something related to that or just anything. It could be that it taught you how to, you know, solder a circuit. But what do you think how do you think cosplay has benefited your life?
I totally agree with you about like the whole body image thing, but I feel like I maybe like overcame it in like a different way, like because I remember feeling sort of like sensitive about like how I looked in like a costume or whatever, and then you like post your stuff on Reddit and everyone's like, oh wow, so fat, you look like a man, whatever, and like honestly it just happens so much that I'm like, I feel like these people would just say these nasty things to me regardless of what I looked like or regardless of what I was wearing. So like it's in like a way it's like, I don't know, you just come to a realization that people are going to be mean and nasty to you for no reason at all. And like, I don't know, you can't sweat every time someone says your cosplay looks like shit or you're fat or you look like a man, like whatever. Honestly,
but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
There's going to be people like, no matter what you do, there are going to be people like, the difference is that we're behind the screen, so people get the anonymity of
the
not having to know, not having to be known. And it's like whenever you're driving on the highway, like you don't really care if you cut somebody off. Like people don't think about that because you don't have to talk to that person immediately. You don't have to see their reaction. You kind of just act dumb to it. So I feel like it's kind of similar to what people are doing, you know, online. It's just they're able to not have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about somebody's reactions or how it affects them at all. Yeah, it's just them getting like something fulfilled inside of themselves.
And like those people that like say those kinds of nasty things, and maybe we're like getting a bit I'm getting a bit off topic in saying this, but like people like that like say nasty things to you guaranteed think way worse things about themselves, and like they're just saying that kind of nasty shit to you because they've got like problems inside, so it's like they're not even worth thinking about. But moving away from that, I think, yeah, like you said, like taking pride in your work, and it's really satisfying to like work on a project from start to end and like make stuff with your own hands, and it's really satisfying to like get like a piece of your project done. And okay, so I know all of you have totally had this feeling where you're like working on your cosplay and you're like, oh, I'm working on this thing and I don't know how it's going to turn out. And then you get it done and you're like, wow, this turned out so good. And then you get so pumped to work on the rest of your cosplay. So like that kind of feeling of like satisfaction and excitement are my favorite parts about cosplay and sort of why I do it. And then of course the payoff of standing around looking super cool. People are like, oh my gosh, can I take your picture? That's obviously super satisfying as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. I would also say that my number one thing that cosplay has taught me has also been about like being confident in myself, I guess, because I didn't really feel pretty back when I first started. And then gradually, as I put more effort into making costumes and modeling them and getting high quality photos and things, I sort of developed that confidence because I saw a reflection of myself that I was proud of. And so that has really helped my self-esteem in general and just the way that I perceive myself. Not so much like the reactions I get from people, but just like the confidence that I have from feeling like I did a good job. And then beyond that, I went back to school and started studying theatrical design because of cosplay. So cosplay literally taught me quite a bit about the theater world and all of that. And so, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited for you. I think that's so awesome that just like making costumes and putting them on and getting like a good reaction out of people makes you like so happy that you want to go to school and like pursue it as a profession. That's so cool.
Yeah, I graduated in December, so yeah, that's what I'll be doing soon, hopefully.
I was like
Awesome.
getting like physically excited, like
That is super exciting.
Oh, thanks.
I'm gonna explode. That's awesome.
What about you,
Yay.
Morgan?
Probably just, I don't know, getting more confident talking to people, because if you're going out in a costume, then you're going to be forced to have conversations with people you've never met before, because everyone wants to approach you and be like, oh, what's this? So I'm not really a extroverted type person. So like going to these cons, dressed up and stuff, I've met a lot of people, and it forces me to go out of my comfort zone. So kind of a confidence builder in that way.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great to like see all the people you meet, not just like, you know, cosplayers that I end up talking to again and inviting them to be on my random talk show, but also just the people that you'll never talk to again, and you just run into them, just have like a 5-minute conversation about how you made your breastplate or whatever, and it's those interactions that are nice as well.
I think it's a really interesting icebreaker, and it's really cool to kind of bring more attention to, I mean, most of us cosplay Dota, but gaming in general is getting more attention lately. I'm a little curious as to how you guys feel about the growth that the gaming culture is seeing, and your thoughts and your speculations as far as like what are the reasons for it, like what are the pros and cons of it. It's kind of a general question, but
Geek culture or gaming culture.
Yeah.
We're all both.
Are you kind of talking about like how like geek and gaming and nerd culture has sort of like come into like more like popularity, being less like weird?
It was very like counterculture, and now, I mean,
it's super
as things typically do, it goes from counterculture to being a mainstream culture. Like it kind of always does this little like leapfrog over each other. But why do you guys think that that it happened? Like, what do you think the reasons are?
I think escapism is a really big factor. When things are not going well in societies politically, or just because of civil unrest, people turn to fiction because that's where they feel more comfortable, and that's where the good guys win, and that's where they can spend time in an imaginary world where everything is better than what we're currently living in. So I feel like it's kind of a reflection of the political climate, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, that's extremely insightful. That is a very good point.
I never thought of it that way, but
yeah, I never thought of that either. I just had like a brain blast, like Jimmy Neutron. I think so cool.
I think, I mean, and this is a lot more topical than that. I think that being like a nerd or like a geek has become like cooler, because it's like being a nerd is about like being like unabashedly like into what things that you're passionate about. You know what I mean? Like being a nerd is always like liking what you like without really being like apologetic about it. And I feel like I know like lots of people that like gaming or like being into like cosplay or like the competitive gaming scene is like their weird like little closeted thing that they like keep separate from the rest of their life. So it's like their families don't know that they play video games, or like my family doesn't know that like the thing I'm going to in Seattle is a competitive video game tournament. So I think it's still like a little closeted in that regard, especially like when we talk about like competitive gaming, because that is, I think still I still think that's like a little on like the dark side of like nerdy. That's like, oh, what are you into? Oh, I'm into competitive gaming. Oh, that's good. Cool.
Get a real job.
I'm laughing because you should have heard all of the code words I used to describe what I was going to in August to my internship friends. I'm like, why are you heading out early? In August, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to this convention. But yeah, the internationals in August. So it's just a bunch of code words to not be like, I'm going to this giant Dota tournament that happens in Seattle.
Yeah.
But people are always like, oh, are you playing? No, I'm watching. Oh,
like,
why are you doing
You know what's hilarious is explaining it to the cab driver when you're on your way over, and he's like, so there are a lot of you World of Warcraft people here now, right? We're like, yeah, they're sure. I don't know. I find it so hilarious. Whenever you put on a costume and people are like, what are you doing? What are you up to? What are you doing? Are you gonna be on ESPN? Are you gonna be on the TV?
Are you going to a Comic-Con?
They always say Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I didn't know Comic-Con was right now.
No, I also love that everyone who doesn't know that much about Comic-Cons thinks that every Comic-Con is San Diego Comic-Con. Oh, are you going to San Diego? Oh, is that now? And I'm like, no, I'm just going downtown.
I'm in New York. My flight just landed. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so speaking about conventions, there's definitely a certain etiquette, I think, with the influx of cosplay to the community and it being so important. How do you guys feel about going to conventions? Do you feel there's a certain kind of etiquette that needs to be upheld? What do you see in the future as far as the social dynamic of the cosplayers with their interaction with photographers and fans and all of that?
I mean, I hate to bring up an old point, but I'm gonna say the quote that floats around the internet sometimes that cosplay is not consent. Because I know you've all been grabbed or whatever, or people are afraid to get near you, or they'll snap photos of you in private. It's just, I think the only etiquette that really needs to be observed is just ask oh, can I take a picture with you? Do you mind if I put my arm around you? Whatever. But I don't know. I know I've been grabbed, and I get really creeped out when people try to take photos of me while I'm eating and stuff like that. It's if you just ask me, I'll put down my delicious pretzel just for you so you can take a picture. But please just ask. So as far as etiquette goes, I mean, stuff that's already been said, just ask. Be nice, be courteous. They're people. Just because they're dressed as a video game character doesn't mean they're still a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with all of that.
One thing I noticed is a lot of people, when they talk about being grabbed in cosplay, it's not just inappropriate touching. A lot of times I have the issue with people who put their arm around me when they're taking a photo with me and pull me in, which is a little weird, but part of that problem is, especially if I'm wearing armor, some of that stuff can't be grabbed in that way, and so I'm just oh, you just possibly pulled my shoulder piece off or something like that. And I think that's something they're oh, but I just put my arm around your shoulder. But I think it is a lot of that, there's things that some people don't think about, and I think that's just ask.
I think that as long as you're confident about establishing your boundaries and being willing to stand up for yourself when someone does something that's making you uncomfortable, that's really important, because there's always someone who's new to conventions who doesn't know what the etiquette is or the culture or what's expected. So as long as you're prepared to, I guess, politely express those boundaries when you need to, or not politely if the situation calls for it, then you'll be fine. But yeah, you just have to be prepared for people to be douches sometimes.
Absolutely. I recently saw this video, and I'm sure you guys have seen it too, but it's this guy, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 of them, and they went around at a Comic-Con, and they were acting like they were going to interview someone, and then they were inappropriately grabbing them, grabbing their boobs or their butts, or commenting sexually on what they were wearing.
How
Yeah.
scummy.
And
That's really
I was
crappy.
just like, people do this, and some of the girls were just laughing like it was not a big deal. And I was like, what kind of precedent is this going to set for everyone else? Because the guys that see this are going to be like, oh, cool, I can just grab any cosplayer that I want. And the girls that see this are going to think that they don't have to stand up for themselves whenever that kind of thing happens. Like, that's not fair. That's still sexual harassment. Whether or not I decide that I want to show off my cleavage is not, it doesn't mean that you get to touch it. Like, that's not how that works.
And there's just some things like, I don't know if you two, Heidi or Morgan, saw this, but there was this album going around, or a screenshot of someone who went to Dallas Comic-Con and just took pictures of all the cosplayers' butts.
Great.
And
I did
just
not see
posted
that.
that online. I saw it in passing from like a friend or something, but it's just like things like that. I
Like
feel like,
sneakily
yeah,
snuff pictures, or
I guess so. They
Volunteer?
definitely were like, yeah, from behind, like phone down under here, but just posted
Okay.
them online. It was like, oh, this is what we go to Comic-Con for. And I just like, I feel like as the scene grows, hopefully so will like, because I feel like before, when it was more counterculture, a lot of people just were closer. They weren't having a lot of people coming in for those
Yeah.
reasons. Whereas now, as it grows, I hope as like it grows into mainstream, that there's also the accompanying, like, okay, we're going to set some ground rules, which I haven't seen conventions doing. They'll actually post rules about, like, hey, cosplay is not consent, like posters that actually say that, and like you can't grab, cosplayers and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I
anyways.
mean, I agree. It's like, I don't know. I feel like those people are just like ruining it for everyone else, because it's like, I love half-naked girls at conventions. You love
Same.
half-naked girls at conventions. Like, see a girl with like really nice boobs, it's like, yeah, you want to like stare at them, but like, don't be a creep. Like, you wouldn't go into a bar and like, oh wow, that girl's ass is hanging out of her shorts. It looks really good. I'm gonna take a picture of it and post it on the internet. No, you're a creep. And it's like, because these girls are in like costumes, it's like, oh well, like this is what they want, right?
It's like
Like,
they're not-
Yeah,
it-
it's expectation that they're
yeah.
part of the spectacle.
It's like
Which
they're
is
not
not
real
fair.
people. Yeah.
You know what? Like, okay, the question that's on my mind right now is, you drew a really good comparison, like, with the bar scene. So, what's the difference between them going up to a girl in the bar and then going up to someone at a convention? Like, what is that, like, where is that line drawn to where they think it's okay to harass at a convention? They don't see it as a big deal, but when the same guy goes into a bar, not with every guy, of course, I'm not going to make like a huge generalization, but that like typical guy doesn't think that it's okay to just go up to a girl and like touch her butt or whatever in a bar. Like, where is that line drawn? How do they make that like distinction?
I think part of the problem is that conventions are like a safe haven for people who are socially awkward. Which is not to say that everyone who's socially awkward is creepy, but there's often a correlation there, and maybe they just don't realize what is and isn't appropriate because they can't tell. They literally don't know. So whereas someone in a bar like is generally better socialized, that's maybe not true. But in the bar, in a public setting, you're dealing with the general public, you have a better likelihood of dealing with people who are better socialized. So I think that's a part of the problem, but just being patient and educating people in convention scenes is, I think, going to be more helpful than, I don't know, just getting mad about it.
I think it has a little bit to do with what Wicked said about it's part of the, like, they see it as part of the spectacle, because there are unfortunately people going to conventions to just see the sights. And not really going there for the culture and the pop culture and the geek culture that's over there. And also a little bit of what you said, like escapism. They don't see it as the real world, and so they believe that those real world like rules may or may not apply. And that's where that fuzzy line comes, where, yeah, this is like a little bit of like a sci-fi fantasy geek haven, but it's still the real world, and those social rules still apply. So I think it has a little bit to do with that as well. But as the culture of the conventions grows, so is the cosplay scene. And there's a lot more people doing cosplay, which is great, because we want everyone who wants to do cosplay. But what do you think some of the challenges, or, I guess also advantages of the cosplay scene growing as much as it has been? what have you seen pop up as you've seen it grow?
Advantages or
Resources.
disadvantages, did you say? Oh yeah, wow. Resources is a really good point.
Yeah,
Like-
patterns and fabrics being available at Joann's that are geared specifically for cosplays. That's amazing that we're now a market that's being catered to. Yeah, and being able to find a tutorial for basically anything online that you need to is pretty amazing that everyone is providing that information.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like even like trying to find like certain supplies like LEDs or like Warbler. Like I remember looking for Warbler like 4 years ago, and like the only place that I could find it was like really small batches. Like I remember like looking at like a sheet that would cost me $80 now in Canadian dollars would have cost me like probably $200 back then, like plus shipping. Like it was like a super like niche thing, and like I don't even think like Warbler was a thing. It was like different kinds of like thermoplastics, like
Wonderflex.
Wonderflex.
Yeah,
Yeah, Wonderflex is the worst.
I actually, well, that was the first one I used.
I use Wonderflex too, but like I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated every second of it. But yeah, I think wow, resources is a really good point.
What a yeah.
Also, like everybody's like competing to come out with the next Warbler. Like there's so many different thermoplastics that are coming out now. Like Tandy Leather has one, and there's that blue one that I forget the name of it, but it's supposed to. There's a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Man, clear Warbler now and stuff. What a
Yeah.
time to be alive.
I think there's
There's
like
meshed back Warbler now. Just like it's like Wonderflex's or Warbler's version of Wonderflex.
But yeah, there's
Yeah.
also like apparently there's an EVA foam that's kind of built like a thermoplastic, so it has adhesive in itself, and it's like smooth on both sides.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I haven't used it.
I think it's mostly available in Europe, so it's kind of hard to get here. But I was like, that's incredible because resources are just growing, and I think
Europe deserves something nice as far as cosplay resources go.
Oh yeah, there's a good point made. 3D printing too is becoming huge.
Oh yeah.
I'm a mechanical engineering major, and I know how to 3D like print and 3D form, and I still like highly respect 3D cosplay printers as like 3D printer cosplayers because that is hard. Like
Yeah, all the finishing
Like,
work you have to do to it as well.
just
Even like yeah,
modeling
mapping it, finishing it, like
I have a friend, Bindi Smalls, who does
Oh yeah.
pretty much almost exclusively 3D printing cosplay. And I met her at TI, oh my gosh, TI 4 maybe?
when she was the Bloodseeker.
Yeah.
The Bloodseeker with the Rubik,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was so good. I remember I saw it and I was like, what is that? Is that Warbler? Like, how did you get it so smooth? Oh my god. And then she was like, no, I 3D printed it.
I follow-
like a huge
yeah.
idiot, but
I follow
she
her
has
for
this
that.
like she has this online 3D like 3D printing business, and then she also does all of her costumes. And she, for me, has kind of been a pioneer in the 3D printing cosplay world because she's merged the two, and like, yes, it's been done before, but to see someone almost exclusively do it that way, I feel like it looks so good and so professional. And I'm just like, how do you keep up with that kind of quality whenever you're working with like Warbler, Eva Foam, that kind of stuff, you know?
A lot
hard
of
and-
sanding.
It's hard and it's expensive, which is the unfortunate part because you can go to like maker studios and use their 3D printers, but it's hours and hours to print, and so it's still 3D printing is still a challenge, and it won't be a household kind of everyone can get an access to 3D printers for like. So
3D printing cosplay is like the 4K of
exactly.
the technology exists, but like it's so expensive that it's not going to be mainstream for like a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're nearing the end of this super special cosplay episode. So to wrap up, I actually want to know if you guys have any funny stories from your experiences with cosplay. Now, they can be anything. They can be at conventions. They can just be like while you're creating your cosplay. And to give you a second to think about it, unfortunately, we kind of told this at the beginning, but if we are going to go ahead and just in case people didn't hear, one of my funniest stories is actually how I found Heidi again. So
Oh,
just to give you,
yeah.
I'll tell the story again, just to give you guys time to think of your funny stories. But I was at a convention. I was wearing my very first. I don't know if you know that. That was my very first cosplay. So I was wearing a Lady Magneto, and
Oh, that's
I
awesome. I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
yeah. And so I
You
think
look
I was
so
just
good.
about to leave the convention, and Heidi is wearing Jean Grey cosplay, who, by the way, is my favorite X-Men ever. And she comes up to me and asked me for a photo, and was just telling me, like, oh, I love Magneto, we need to take a photo. And so we took a photo and went on our merry way. And a year later, I think I might have been looking up Magneto again for some reason. Like I was trying to see if anyone had done like new Lady Magnetos, and I found the photo of the two of us like in the Google image search like results.
Because
And
I tweeted it.
yeah, and I went and I was like, oh my god, that's me. And I was like, oh wait, now I found you because I had taken a photo of you, I think, as well with my like camera, and I've been trying to tag you for like a year, like trying to figure out who this cosplayer was. And so I was like, oh, I found who this person was, and I was just like, ha, I know this is a year later, but that's me. And yeah, we've been seeing each other at conventions for a year, but
Yeah, it's been
that
fun.
was
We've
probably,
kept in touch online.
yeah, that's probably one of
That's
my
awesome.
funnier cosplay stories. But do you guys have any fun stories to tell?
I have one about one of the first, not one of the first, but like kind of before I started doing. Actually, no, it was just when I started doing Dota cosplays because I was wearing my Crystal Maiden cosplay. Which, okay, the reason that I don't bust this cosplay out anymore because it's hot. It's really, really hot because it's got like fur around like the face and like these furry like shoulder pads, like furry leg warmers, and like of course cosplay season's like July. So this one time I was at like an after party thing, and this was in Vancouver, but when I didn't live here. It was downtown Vancouver, and we were at like an after party. Yeah, like everyone had been drinking, and so I was like, oh, I gotta grab the train because the last train is about to leave. So I get on the train, going towards Surrey, which is south of Vancouver, intending on getting off in 3 or 4 stops, and I fell asleep on the train in my cosplay.
Oh,
And I
no.
ended up at the end of the line at like 2 a.m. wearing this like blue like this blue like really short kind of like dress with like this goofy ass staff and like these leg warmers and stuff, wearing like this blonde wig, and this is like 2 a.m. and like my phone's like almost dead, and I'm like stranded in this place where I have no idea where I am. So I'm like asking people for directions, like, oh, I'm trying to get here, like, do you know how I get back? And I didn't end up getting back until like way later in the morning, because it's like the part of town that I was in was not a nice part of town, and I was like so sketched out and like still kind of drunk. So I ended up like finding this this like 24-hour diner and like ordering like a milkshake and like falling asleep on the table for like 4 hours until the train started running again. So yeah, that's my story of how I was stranded in the ghetto wearing a pretty skimpy outfit in the middle of summer, drunk.
Oh, that made me so happy.
Mine is not nearly
Oh
that
my
extreme, but it's kind of on a similar topic. One of my first costumes that I ever made, which was very, very poorly made, included like a little tiny tank top that's basically like a bra. And I had used a separating zipper in the back because I was just an idiot. I did not know what the best way to make this costume was. So I had this separating zipper, and I had been at the convention all day, and I was drinking by this point, and it was late in the evening, and then I had bent down to drink out of the water fountain, and I felt someone touching my back, and I like stood up really quickly, and I was like, what the fuck? And it's this girl there, and she was just like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry to startle you, but your top was unzipping and it was about to fall off. So some random stranger saved me, and I'm forever grateful to her. But yeah, there we go.
Actually, once when I was wearing my Lena cosplay at TI, I like came out of the washroom with like my skirt still like tucked into
Oh my god!
I must have walked around half the arena with my ass hanging out before like this this woman, this godsend, was like, "Oh, honey, no." And she like came over and she's like, "Oh no," and she like untucks like my underwear or whatever.
Oh my
And I was
god.
mortified. Like it takes a lot to like embarrass me or whatever, but I was mortified.
Oh.
Shout out to all the women out there who have saved us from our
Yeah,
costume
seriously.
disaster.
Shout out to cosplay wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one. It's not so much cosplay related, but it is TI related. So once again, we're on the subject. Last year, I had stayed in Seattle, which is where obviously the international happens. And I'd stayed for like, I think a day later than pretty much everybody else stayed. And I treated myself. I was like, all right, I'm going to go down to the pier. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to buy myself some stuff. And I saw like one of the guys that's like kind of famous within the industry and within the Dota scene. His name's Dendi.
Don,
And I
Oh,
saw,
Dendi!
yes. And I saw him like walking down by the pier with some girl. It was like sister, love interest, I don't know. And I just saw him and I froze. And it's so weird because I never get like, I'm not one of those people that gets like starstruck. Like I don't see somebody like, I wouldn't see Toby or like Slacks or anybody and be like, whoa, oh my God,
starstruck by Slacks.
Oh my
God.
God. I know, right? Some people do, and that's totally fine. But he's the one person, because he's the person that kind of got me into Dota, like those fountain hooks for TI3, right? So
Oh,
good.
dear.
But so I saw him and I was just like, oh my God, like, what do I do? I want to talk to you so bad, but I feel so awkward. And
Did you
he
go
just
up to-
walked by.
Did you like go up to him and be like, "Dendi, I love you"?
I just like hooked on and never let go. No, but I couldn't let him pass, and the whole time I was like, do I say something? Do I say something? He's 10 feet behind me. I don't say anything now, right? Right? That would be awkward. And so instead, I tweeted him, and I'm like, it's so weird. I'm like, hey, I just saw you down at the pier. I hope you're having a good day.
That's not creepy at all.
I remember seeing that tweet. I remember seeing that tweet.
Yes. My boyfriend was like, what? Why did you say that? I was like, I don't know, it was so weird.
God.
Yeah, that was one of my really awkward moments. What a minute.
Do you have a story, Morgan?
Well, one time, a group of, I guess this was this past con, a group of our friends, we were going as the Court of Owls. And so, you know, it's the owl mask that you wear on your face, but you're dressed in really fancy clothes. So we would put the masks over our heads to walk around the con so we could see. And somebody thought we were cosplaying as Mormons with bicycle helmets and our fancy clothes. So that was pretty funny.
Oh.
That's
Alright.
amazing.
I don't really have any malfunction stories. Oh, my staff is really heavy, so they would try and take my staff and like almost drop it, and I'd be like, wait, it's heavy. So I mean, that was pretty bad. Like my photographer fall over, stuff like that happened, but you know, nothing terrible.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
gosh. I wanna, while we're talking about cosplay and malfunctions, I'm gonna give a shout out to all of the poor people who follow us around at conventions and keep our cosplays on our bodies, because I can't be the only one who, like, it's not even just like significant others, it's just like random friends who made the very poor choice of going to a convention with me in cosplay.
Yeah.
And they end up like carrying my camera bag, they end up like, I
like your
bought them
phone,
Buggernaut at,
Yeah.
I have another
out,
story about
and they
that.
gave me
But
the
I'll keep it
like
quick.
they gave me the giant TI bag for some reason because the Valve store was there, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm taking that. I don't care that I just bought a mug. I'm taking this giant TI bag. So my friend
Yeah.
was carrying this giant TI bag with a mug in it. So I was like, thank you so much. But Yeah.
While we're doing
you always need your
shout-outs,
little assistant.
Oh, what is your story, Heidi? Really quick.
Oh, my story is really quick, but it goes back to cosplay malfunctions and also cosplay handlers that save our lives by keeping our costumes on us. It wasn't a costume I was wearing, but I had made a costume for my husband to wear to A-Kon 2015. And so we were both in costume, we were competing together, so we had additional handlers. And both of our costumes included complete armor down both of our arms, so we had no use of our hands whatsoever. And his costume was also him shirtless with like these leather pants with like a deep V in the front.
Oh god.
It took a long time for me to like talk up this costume so that he would actually wear it. So anyway, we spent the whole day with our handlers, and over the course of the day, our friend Kat has to repeatedly like grab his pants and pull them up his body because they're like sliding down and he can't use his arms at all. So yeah, shout out to the best handler in the world, Kat, for reaching into my husband's pants like 10 times and making sure they stayed up.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, we're nearing the end. If anyone else has any other stories, now would be the time to speak up, or else.
well, I was gonna say shout out to the first time you ever tried to glue straps onto Warbler.
God.
Oh my god.
Mistakes were made. All right.
I had this issue of not to prolong this even more, but with Wonderflux's adhesive is just awful. Like, we're not gonna parse that at all. And so looping D-rings onto it was a disaster. I thought I had my TARDIS armor perfectly worked out. The morning I tried to put it on, like half of them snapped off. And I almost lost my
God.
breastplate, so
Man, you're like triggering me right now.
yeah.
I actually had the same thing happen at TI4. There was this little like news station, I think, that was doing a like a staged fight scene between a few of the cosplayers at the event. And I was wearing my drow, which was my first costume, so it wasn't extremely sturdy, and there were like there was a bunch of leg armor, like all sorts of stuff, and they had me dying, so I would fall down on the ground consistently, and they had to do this shot apparently 5 or 6 times. So this poor unsturdy first little baby cosplay that I had, falling on the ground 5 or 6 times. By the end of the day, I was walking around, and I'm not kidding, this thing was like hanging off of me. I was waddling like, how do I get to the car? It was such a mess. It was such a mess. So luckily, from every costume, you kind of learn something new. And I learned that I will never try to Warbler D-rings to more Warbler ever again.
It works if you get it hot enough, but
Yeah.
I had less issues with Warbler than I did with Flex. So, anyways, that wraps up this week's episode of the Campfire. If you missed part of it or you want to share it, it will be up on YouTube probably tomorrow, unless I forget, because, to be honest, I'm a person and that happens sometimes. Before we go, I know we just had a bunch of other shout-outs, but if you guys have any shout-outs you'd like to give to anyone, anything, I don't know, go ahead. But let's start with you, Wicked. Do you have any shout-outs?
Well, I mean, since he's in chat, shout out to Butlet, who ate shit in front of Sing Sing and Fwash during TI5.
That's awesome.
That's it.
Done. Oh my god.
What about you, Heidi?
Wow.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah.
I will put a link in the comments or in the chat if I can.
Should do it.
Yeah. Check out my YouTube channel. I post tutorials and new videos every Wednesday, so there's a lot of stuff on there that you can check out if you're interested in cosplay videos. So, thanks.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna go follow you right now.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah, she's on her husband's Twitch, I believe. Why?
Oh, am I? Did I?
Yeah, it says
oh,
pro
yeah.
Jared.
Oops. Pro Jared, oops.
That is Heidi, but
Oh, no. It's not Pro Jared.
That's hilarious. What about you, Morgan?
I guess going back to handlers, shout out to my husband, because I would not be able to wear all the costumes that I do without him there following me around, fixing everything that's like fallen off, or, you know, actually I can't even get into some of my stuff. Like I can't tie my mind, you know, so shout out to him. He's like, I'm sure I like ruin his convention, like the days that I'm wearing my big costumes, because he's having to just trail me the whole time, but no, it's nice.
All right, well, I'm going to give an extra special shout out to Ashley for joining us this week and
Oh, stop it.
being our guest host. And also, extra special shout out to all three of these wonderful cosplayers that are amazingly talented, and you should check them out. I linked all of their Twitters and Facebooks in the description, so you guys can go check out their work and give them a like, or a follow. So that's it for this week's episode of the Campfire. Tune in next week at the same time, 8 p.m., and see you guys later.